Well, I'll just say I know Bobby Kennedy well, and I admire him. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think he's an honest person. I think he's right. I think he's just like Trump in this way. Bobby Kennedy's most controversial opinions are the truest ones. I believe that. It's funny, and Trump is exactly the same way. Build a wall was considered like completely outrageous. That's like the most obvious, and I don't just mean with Illinois, but like on our national borders. That was the most obvious observation. Oh, yeah, why wouldn't you have a wall? You know, we've paid for walls in a bunch of other countries around the world because borders make countries. It's very obvious. So yeah, Bobby Kennedy's an enormously brave person, and I happen to know a very decent person. Bobby Kennedy is an old-fashioned liberal of the kind I grew up with and always made fun of because, you know, the whole organic peanut butter, you know, unshaven armpit thing. But, you know, in middle age, I like organic peanut butter, actually, and I don't mind. I don't care if you shave your armpits, actually, sorry. What I care about is, like, living in a free society. And I don't, if your default is hurting people, whether it's babies or foreign populations, I'm not for that, actually. It's really easy to hurt people. It's really easy to destroy things. Super easy. What's hard is to build things. That's incremental. That can't be done in a day. And so, you know, I'm all for a strong national defense. I think we should defend ourselves against school nurses as well, as I told you. But anyone who gets too excited about cluster bombs, you're not my kind of person, actually. Sorry. I'm not into that, actually. I am a Christian, and I don't like it. I don't like all the people who get visibly aroused when they're talking about bombing civilian populations. I think it's disgusting. And so I do think there's an innate decency in him that I admire. And he's also, last thing I'll say, he's a true and sincere sportsman, and that's very meaningful to me. And the destruction of nature in the climate cult is one of the most upsetting things ever. I mean, in the end, the first thing I said about Wisconsin is it's beautiful, which it really is, and lightly populated in some parts. And the best part about America is America itself. It's just a beautiful country, and I've been around the world. This is a beautiful country physically. Our mountains, our water, our forests, and they're being destroyed. The forests are being clear-cut, for real, by the climate people to save the earth. They're cutting the forest down. What? Screwing up our food supply with ethanol. I mean, the whole thing is nuts. And I think sportsmen, people who hunt and fish and love animals, understand that. They actually care about God's creation, and he really does. He's a true sportsman. So anyway, I really like the guy. He could wreck it for Trump, obviously. And the people who tell you, well, he's a liberal. Well, he's a liberal, okay, I guess. But I'm the least liberal person I've ever met, and I kind of like him. So how liberal is he? You know, he wants a border wall, and he's totally for free speech, and he doesn't think that pharma is necessarily totally on our side, and et cetera. So how many people are actually choosing between voting for Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Joe Biden? None. The only people who are thinking about voting for Bobby Kennedy are potential Trump voters. So I don't know how he wound up running independent. I don't think he did it on purpose to hurt Trump. There may be people around him who steered him in that direction, is my suspicion, but I don't know that. But I think he's a huge problem, and I don't think the Trump people appreciate it at all. And their view is, I'm probably being way too candid. I'm assuming it's not being taped. But their assumption is, well, Bobby Kennedy said like crazy liberal things in the past. Yeah, he did. Well, I supported the Iraq War. I've had so many dumb opinions, I can't keep track of them all. But America has changed so much in the last 30 years that if your views haven't changed in 30 years, you're either dead or you're lying. So all of us have very different views, if we're awake and honest, than we used to have. So showing me some tape of Bobby Kennedy saying, you know, I hate gun owners or something. Well, Bobby Kennedy's a hunter, but for one thing. Who do I think is more likely to take my guns? Joe Biden or Bobby Kennedy? Nikki Haley or Bobby Kennedy? It's not even close. Nikki Haley thinks all the guns should be at the DOD. Well, I think I should have some in my house too. She doesn't think that. So anyway, no one's going to believe that he's a Joe Biden type liberal because he's just not. And so I think he's a massive threat to Trump, and I think they should wake up and deal with it somehow.
If he gets in, it's trouble for Trump.
Yeah, I mean, he has trouble with ballot access. I won't be boring, but it's hard for a third-party candidate to run.